Hey everybody, I'm Ricky, and this is Jim, and today we're going to talk to you about one of the most important things when it comes to driving traffic to your website, and that is creating awesome headlines.
That's right, Ricky. I always wanted to say that. We've written thousands of blog posts, and this is like the hidden thing. Everybody's so worried about backlink profile and stuff, but getting good headlines can dramatically change how much traffic you get, and here's why. Let's say you wrote an okay blog post, you get up to position 3 or something on the Google search result, but you have a really killer headline. Well, most of the time when I Google something, I at least glance around. You look at a couple of them before you commit to which one you're going to click. If you can even get up to position 2 or 3, but you have a killer headline, you can get awesome traffic to your website. And so it's not just a matter of nailing the keyword and having that in your title. It's really about having something that piques the interest of the Googler, that makes them feel like, hey, that guy's got the answer to my question. And that's what all of this is about.
That's right. So tip number 1, first thing we're going to do when we have a keyword, something that we want to write about, is we're going to Google that keyword and we're going to look at the competition. We're going to look at the other articles that are written there. So number 1, we're going to see if there are 3 other articles there that are like, 6 tips for this and 7 tips for that. Well, we're going to write 11 tips. We're going to write 12 tips. We're going to beat the competition and write a better headline, and that's going to guide the content as well, the actual article, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I really think that does matter. Mm-hmm. It might seem smart, okay, I'm going to write 7 tips. It's not that big of a deal. But it does, because you can see kind of what's there. Like if I'm searching best earbuds, best wireless earbuds, that's an extremely competitive keyword, by the way. But maybe I notice here, everybody's just writing best earbuds, best earbuds, best earbuds 2017. And so I want to see, what can I contribute that's really unique here? Maybe I can write something like, I tested 47 wireless earbuds. This was my favorite. It's just something so unique that, you could shoot up in that one.
That gives you a lot of credibility, too. I tested a bunch of these things. This is the best.
And it's okay to sometimes go outside the box with headlines, especially if you're going for something competitive and where you're going to need to have a little luck where you just kind of nailed the keyword.
Yeah.
All right, another one is when I Google this, before I even craft my headline, I want to see what type of results I have. For example, if I notice a lot of YouTube videos in the results, one, that may mean I want to create a YouTube content instead of a blog post, but also it means this is something really visual. People need a visual of this, and so promise that. How to fix a leaky faucet. Illustrated guide with pictures. And maybe that's going to get your post to rank, or if it's a lot of YouTube results. So see what's out there first before you craft your headline.
On the other end of that spectrum, if you see that the top 2 or 3 results are all forums, that's just awesome.
Gold.
Write that article because a blog post can beat a forum. If it's a well-written article, you're going to beat a forum hands down.
Which makes sense, right? I mean, if you can get somebody to research this and just give you a clear answer, it's way better than reading Bob72 from Smithville said this, Smiley Girl 18 says, Forums are the lowest form of content on the web.
Yeah.
If you can write a good, solid article on it, you should beat it. Most people would appreciate that.
Yep.
Okay, 60 characters max in your headline. It's very tempting to go over. I must go to 40 times a day. I bet I go to lettercount.com and I just type my headlines here, and then I do count characters, and I want to make sure it's not over 60. That's always changing how long you can go, and there are some exceptions to that, but I usually just say 60 characters, not 1 over, or else it can get truncated.
That's right. All right. I want to give you one of kind of the big tips that we use when we're looking for headlines. A lot of times, it's really important to get the keyword and to kind of get the main point of the article there in your headline, but we also like to include a little bit more. we want to look for sort of what's the feeling when people do a Google search. What's the feeling behind?
This is a cool tip. It really is.
What's the feeling behind what they're actually searching for? And one of the ways that you can find that is, perform the Google search and then go down to the bottom of the page. And what you're going to see is the suggested searches. These are other searches that people are making that are similar to the search that you just made. And what that's going to do is it's going to give you, maybe 8 other searches that are close, and they're going to give you a little bit of a feel for maybe what people are looking for. So when we look up best
beginner
fly tying vise.
So there's somebody's like crafting a little fly like for fishing, and they searched. So our keyword that we're working on is beginner fly tying advice.
Right.
And now we're trying to write a headline that's gonna really catch these people's attention.
So this is really, really telling. Dan Weiss, okay, whatever. I don't even know what that is. Best fly tying vise under 50. Best fly tying vise under 100. Over here. Best fly tying vise for the money. Good, inexpensive fly tying vise. So 4 of the 8 Google searches are talking about the price of the vise. So I'm a beginner fly tyer. What do I care about most in a vise? It's not about how well it grips. It's not about, does it have a rotary on it? It's how expensive is this thing?
Yeah, and so when I'm writing now that I've seen what's out there and I go down to the bottom to the suggested searches and get the feeling that they're wanting from this search, now I'm ready to craft a headline. And so, maybe we're going to say best beginner fly tying vise, this one is the best bang for your buck or something like that. Yeah. I don't know. But because we know that's the feeling as they want cheap, then I'm going to make sure I include that feeling in my headline.
That's right. So we're going to give you a few examples in a minute of different ways you could approach that. But, I guess one way that you could approach that is if you're writing a review of a specific vise, you could write, XYZ fly tying vise, the best one out there for the price.
Yeah, perfect.
Or the best beginner vise for the price. That's great. Or if it's, I'm comparing 5 vices, 5 vices tested and compared, this is the best value for beginners. Yeah. Something along those lines. So it kind of depends. Are you doing a comparison article? Is it a review article of one? But either way, you're going to make sure that you hit not only the beginner fly tying vise keyword, but also the other keywords associated with the feeling behind it.
Yeah, and that feeling, I'm not saying, it would be a totally different article if I just wanted to write best fly tying vices under $100. That's just a different keyword. I'm not saying that. If I want to do that, I would just do that as a separate one.
Sure.
What I'm saying is we're getting these as a feeling. It's just finding what's really in their head when they're searching best beginner fly tying vice. And we just want to make sure we throw that flavor into our headline. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go to some specific examples.
Okay.
So if we have, let's just go to a couple really well done headlines. One that got literally millions of page views to my website over the course of years. Millions from one article is called 9 Weird Photography Tricks That Actually Work. So I was going with the keyword photography tricks. People are searching, trick photography, special effects kind of things. That was the keyword I was going for. And I thought, when I'm searching this, I want to know I want to know some cool stuff, but is this really going to work? And so I put that feeling into the headline. If it were just 9 weird photography tricks, we're okay. That's like the B- headline. But that actually work, really, it's interesting. It just says ooh, what do we got here? And it makes you want to click it.
That's right. Another example of this is not an article we've written, but a headline that could go really well, and I'll explain why. But here's the example: Tesla Model 3 review: I'll never own a gas engine again. Now,
perfection.
Exactly. So here's what we've done. It's clear. We've got the keywords: Tesla Model 3 review. It's obvious what this article is about. Very, very clear. I'll never own a gas engine again. I have already stated what my opinion is on the Tesla Model 3. I've taken a very firm stance. Anybody that agrees with me or is intrigued by my opinion is going to be interested in clicking on that article and finding out why. But it's taking that strong stance is part of what drives the interest. If I said Tesla Model 3 review, a good car for some consumers who want to
depending on your circumstances.
Yeah. Nobody cares about that. It's wishy-washy, okay?
Right.
You need to take a stance. And so this is a good headline for that.
And this is where it's difficult to you're walking a line between, writing something that's interesting and captures attention, but it's a fine line between something that's just spammy and cruddy.
That's true.
And people really see through that quickly. If this is called Tesla Model 3 review, the best thing since sliced bread, it's like, okay, you're really into the car, whatever. Or Tesla Model 3 review, it's gonna be driving itself in 4 months. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean. We've all seen those titles that are just too spammy, and we're like, okay.
Right.
You're walking a line between something that's just too vanilla and boring and doesn't pique people's interest, and something that's just spammy. What I have found, though, is people are happy when you're with your content when the headline directly says what they're going to get with without deceiving them at all. You have to give them exactly what you said. I made this mistake this week. So I wrote an article. I can't remember what I called it. It was something like aperture on cameras, how to confidently set it every time. That was my headline. And somebody commented on that article and said, okay, you explained what the aperture is and how to know what setting to choose, but you never actually told me how to set it on a Nikon D3200. And I realized, I didn't intentionally mislead them, but my headline promised you'll know how to set it, and I didn't directly say that. Actually, I was just teaching them you'll know what setting to choose.
Right.
And so it seems like a fine line, but it does matter to Googlers because they want to find specific information. So tell them only what you really have for them.
Cool. Another good example, and this one was kind of a fun one for me to come up with, but this is about a review for a specific release for archery, right? So Simple 2 archery release. That's the name of the release, : I've never shot better. So this is kind of along the same lines, right? It's like, I'm already making it clear what my stance and my position is on this release. But this also goes back to the feeling behind the actual keywords. If I'm looking for a release and I'm researching which one's the best out there, the underlying feeling behind that is I want to know what release is going to help me shoot more accurately. Mm-hmm. There are, little...
They don't want to know how many features it has or the durability. That's all fine, but when it comes down to it, I want to shoot good.
Exactly. You buy the release because it improves your accuracy and, kind of a few other things. It helps with pulling it. Anyway, we don't get into that, but the accuracy is just a huge component behind picking a release. And so that's the feeling behind it, which is why the headline does so well.
And it's a great headline, but also a perfect example. It better be true.
Yes.
It better be helping you to do it, because if you're not being authentic with readers, they will know. People can smell a rat from a mile away. And so be authentic and real when you're doing reviews. But, where it does fit, then, it's okay. Add in a little sensationalism. It's all right.
Absolutely.
21 things you can do today to change your photography forever. This is another blog post that literally got millions of people to my website from one page. I think this one was successful because, this is going to work for lots of Google search results for just general terms like photography tips. Well, look, that title never even says photography tips in it. It's 21 things you can do today to change your photography forever. But Google is not dumb. Not including the direct keyword does not mean you aren't going to rank for that keyword. While it is usually good to put it directly in there, a lot of times if you just have something that's a great title and then if somebody searched photography tips and they see that, they're like, oh baby, change your photography forever, and then write things that will actually change your photography forever.
Exactly. One more example. This kind of goes back to the archery release example, but now we're talking about scopes, okay? But this is instead of me reviewing one specific product, I'm comparing various products. So example here, 5 scopes compared and how they improve my accuracy. Right?
Beautiful.
Very simple. Nothing overly sensational about that, but I'm comparing these 5, and I'm going to talk to you about accuracy and how these scopes affect that.
Yeah, it's perfect. And the last thing that we want to add is get a hit list. You don't want to be doing keyword research every time before you write an article, or you're going to get writer's block. Spend one day and just write 15, 20, 30 really well-crafted headlines. And then when you wake up in the morning, you're like, I got half an hour before work, I'm going to write some headlines. You're going. You're ready to go. You just pick a headline and start writing. There's no like, I can't think of a keyword today.
Yeah.
Because that's done for you.
Once you start the keyword research, it's actually easy to get into kind of a groove, right? And you kind of look at these related searches, and sometimes you click on some of them, and you kind of go down these rabbit holes and find keyword after keyword after keyword. Write down those keywords, and then spend some time turning those keywords into good headlines, and you'll have a list of 20 good headlines in an hour.
Easily.
If you spend time.
If you're interested in starting your niche site, and I hope you are, go to incomeschool.com and click on Niche Site School. That's how you can work directly with me and Ricky. We'll give you advice on your website. We'll show you our exact 60-day process for creating a site and building it, how to get traffic to that website and monetize it. We've done this over and over and built a portfolio of successful sites, and we'd love to see you get started with your own portfolio. See ya.